Basic fire requires 3 material elements: tinder, kindling and fuel. Tinder is something that takes an ignition source incredibly easily, like a spark. Tinder being the first material element, something light and fluffy that can take your ignition source, be it spark or flame. It can be natural, like birch bark like this. It can be man-made. The next material element is the kindling, which is very small sticks, about no smaller than a matchstick, no thicker than sort of finger size. This is what you will get, this is what you will use to try and establish your fire by sustaining the heat. Once your fire is able to sustain itself for around 5 minutes, it's then established, and it's at that point you can start to add your fuel. Fuel is just slightly bigger sticks, probably starting off sort of thumb sized, or maybe a little bit bigger, and then you gradually work up the size. For a personal fire, for general purpose, bushcraft, survival, I wouldn't go any thicker than the thickness of your wrist. Keep it small, easy to maintain. You should gather these 3 elements in abundance before starting your fire. Try and find a relatively flat, sheltered but not enclosed place near your camp to start your fire. Clear away the ground and the surrounding area around it to try and contain your fire. Be wary of ground that's saturated or is peaty or thick with roots. Make yourself just a nice little raft or platform to keep your fire up off the ground to begin with. You can use a piece of bark if you like. Use a decent amount of tinder. Light your tinder. Let at least 50% of it get established. And immediately add your kindling. Holding it above the fire a little bit, just until it gets started. In the early stages of the fire, you have to keep adding kindling until you get a sustained heat that's capable of igniting your fuel. When your fire can burn unaided for at least 5 minutes, it's then established. It's at that point you can start to add the smaller pieces of your fuel. Make sure it has plenty of oxygen and you're not smothering it. Once your fire becomes established and it's hot enough that it can be left unattended, it will smoke a lot less because the moisture will have evaporated out of the fuel. It's a small, low profile, easy to maintain fire. Once established, it will make nice hot beds of embers that you can cook on. Very little smoke. For basic bushcraft and survival, you don't need a fire any larger than this, unless you're in a particularly cold environment where the fire becomes your main source of heat. A fire this size is easy to maintain throughout the night because it requires very little fuel. It's hot enough that you can use a bottle this kind of size or a cook pot this size to quickly and easily boil water or prepare food.